Namaste. My name is Peggy. I'm from the state of Oregon in the United States.
Okay.
And I first met...
Yeah.
I had a couple different experiences with Babaji, so I tend to date some of those dates. I read the autobiography of a yogi, and I had started having some experiences from that, and I knew something was different. I didn't attribute to Babaji then, that was 74. And then I heard about Babaji from a workshop or from Leonard Orr in 1979, and I had planned to go with him. But due to certain leelas, I was separated from them, and I ended up going to India alone. I first saw Babaji in the physical in January 1980.
Wow. Okay. And how long were you in Hariakhan?
Well, the first time I was only there probably for about 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I was one of the ones he kept throwing out, and I'd come back, and it just seemed like they were going off traveling, and Babaji said I should go home. And I did. I felt like I should do what the master says. So I went home, but then I ended up coming back several months later, not even a year later, with some other Babaji people. Mm-hmm. Since I had met somebody there and she knew some other people, and we ended up coming back together. And so I stayed several weeks that time, 2 months maybe even. Mm-hmm. And I ended up being pregnant, and a lot of leelas with that, which had happened at my home, not in India. And there were a lot of leelas with that, and when I found out I was pregnant, I thought for sure I should go home. So I kept getting, I kept having plans about what I wanted to do, and it kept being foiled, so to speak, by the divine will. Mm-hmm. And then I came back later and stayed 2 months, and then I came back after that and stayed 3 months. And then Baba left his body. My plan had been to stay there again. I had another plan to stay there a lot longer, and Babaji left his body. And in between there, the last few years I spent in the ashram. There was a little ashram on someone's property in Hawaii. So I was part of that for quite a while.
Okay. So you have any, you saw Babaji 5 times in total?
Well, four different trips.
4 different trips.
As well as internal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And did you, is there any particular experience that comes to mind, or is it all of them, it's just all combined?
Well, yeah, there is a lot, like our interviewer is saying.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it is kind of combined, but I was just thinking of one when I came back with my child, who was about 1 year. I think that was, 1 year old. So like a lot of people, I carried him on my back, and Babaji called that the train box. And I was walking down the steps, and there's that landing there before you go down the 108 steps, and there had been a bench there at one time. It's not there. Last time I was there, it wasn't there. And Babaji was painting, and I was walking down, and Babaji turned, and I looked at him, and I thought, uh-oh, here, and he's holding a paintbrush in his hand. I thought, uh-oh, here it comes. And sure enough, he put a little of the paint on my son's forehead, and he painted my whole forehead black. And I got interesting comments from my fellow devotees who said, oh my God, that's disgusting. You've got this heavy paint on your head, and that's poisonous and toxic, and you better get that off right away. And other people thought, oh, that's wonderful, Babaji's doing something with you. And I was able to go to Chandan with him the next morning, and he put these yellow lines on top of the black paint. And somewhere I have a picture of that. And I decided I should ask him, people were kind of reflecting maybe what my mind state, right? Is this stuff toxic, or is it good? Should I leave it on? And I said, Babaji, what should I do? Should I wash this off or not? And this was 83, I think, and it's even hard to find a jar in the ashram, right? Let alone paint remover. It seemed to me like it was oil paint. And Babaji goes, wash, wash, wash on my forehead. And so I went into a pretty heavy state of bliss. And I just sat down and enjoyed that, and the unity consciousness that I felt from that. And so that's one Leela I have with Babaji.
Wow. That's amazing. What kept you coming back each time? Like you said that...
That's a good question.
he kept
Especially
telling you to
after being
leave,
thrown out and told to go home. And,
what kept coming
I
back?
just loved it. I from the beginning. First, I guess the first thing I really got to mention Babaji had appeared to me when I was at this training with Leonard Orr. So that was like, I went from no consciousness of going to India at that time, although several years before I had tried to go. And I had gotten that message, I was 1970 actually, I had gotten that message that you're not really ready to go. And but I kind of forgot about that. And I had been doing some Buddhist stuff. And then the Om Namah Shivaya, somehow I liked that. And when I was waiting, it's the end of 79, waiting for Babaji to come back up because no one told me where he was, but they did tell me where his ashram was or where he was going to be in Haldwani. I just went to some villager's house and had my first tilak, and I thought that was the most exciting thing in the world. I got my first tilak from a lady in the village. But somehow the whole thing just grabbed me, everything. India, Om Namah Shivaya, the tilak. Very clear that a lot was going on. There was just a tremendous energy, even though Babaji had been kind of very hard on me in the beginning. As we went to Hariakhan, I just had some glimpse of like the Shangri-La. As we went up the Hariakhan hills, up the riverbed, this is when we went up in the riverbed in trucks. This was winter. So I just felt like Shangri-La to me, and that this is, the whole thing, just worked really well for me. I just loved it, but Babaji could be kind of heavy at times, and there wasn't a lot to eat there necessarily in the winter of 1980 either. So just something inside kept coming back, and when I leave, you can really feel sometimes the energy when you leave the place. It can be very intense there. You're busy with the karma yoga, trying to keep up the schedule, deal with all kinds of things that may be new, other people. But when you leave, you realize, how blissful you feel, how much of a karmic load you might have dropped. And it just happenstance too. I connected with a friend who's Motu, Morgan, and she thought maybe we could get a group rate and go fly back to India cheaply. But so I went back another time, and I just loved it. But then I was dealing with this pregnancy, or was I pregnant or not issue. And I did really ask Babaji, but I think at that time I was still doubted when he goes, makes a little tiny head nod. And I thought, because if it was real obvious, I would have to leave, I thought, so it's just another Leela. And the energy just kept pulling me back, and the growth was tremendous being with Babaji, the bliss, the love, the growth, there's just was nothing greater. I knew that, that was it. So that's why I kept coming back. And in my mind, I had the plan to come back and stay longer. My son was getting older, and I thought maybe I can just stay alone with my son, but that was not to be.
Because he went to Mahasamadhi then. Yes,
because Babaji left the body, and I've continued to stay involved. I was living right near the Hawaii ashram and very involved in that when we had that. And I tend to be very involved in, as much as I can be, long distance, in the HUA ashram and on the board of Samaj, American Haidakhan Samaj. So I've pretty much, there's been some times not as strong, and I had to do a lot of jobs and had 2 kids to raise mostly alone. So I've been pretty busy, but I've really tried to keep up with it. And I do get blessings from other people, get teachings from other people, but there's nobody like Babaji for me. And I feel very blessed to have had him in my life, and even to be at this ashram in Colorado. It's such a great, great blessing. Bole Baba Ki Jai.
Perfect.
Do you want to ask me anything else?
No, you did perfect.
Okay.
See how I just flowed out of there?
Well, kind of.